Well, kia ora te whānau. Welcome back to another episode of Misunderstood. Well, every great designer, innovator, and creative, at some stage, at some point in their lives, has been misunderstood by clients, by themselves, by the industry, even by sometimes their whānau as well. Misunderstood is a podcast about the stories behind the innovators, the struggles, the breakthroughs, and the moments of doubt and resilience that have turned it all around. Today, I'm super excited to have Andrew Eagles, Mr. Wave man. That when we spend time, that I had such a good time, bro, at the last year's Green Property Summit, and you still got. I still reckon your Wave is pretty up there, bro.
Led by the champion. It was good. It was a great session. Thank you, Rui. It was good fun.
Awesome, bro. So I've done a little bit of research, bro, about who you are, but Andrew is the Chief Executive at the New Zealand Green Building Council, leading the charge to transform Aotearoa's built environment towards healthier, low carbon, and more sustainable future. With a background in economics and over 2 decades of experience spanning government, supply chain, sustainability advocacy, but where haven't you been? I mean, that covers everything, right?
Wow, there's always more, but yeah, it's been good experience to be able to contribute to our
and to bring that experience into Green Building Council. One of the things I've always appreciated about Andrew is that he sort of brings this rare mix of strategic insight and grounded leadership. And I really find events where I've heard you spoke really infectious with optimism, and I really appreciate that about who you are, Andrew, like today. And it's something that not just I say, but the people who come across you, the people who work with you say as well. So that's been really noticeable for me. So since you stepping into the role in Green Building Council in 2016, is that right? Yep. Andrew has been instrumental in scaling up certifications like Homestar, Green Star, Neighbours, NZ, making them accessible tools for everyone from home ownership to major developers. Beyond these frameworks and policies, what stands out is Andrew's commitment to equity and inclusion. Beautiful. He's known for refusing to speak on all male panels. Is that right?
That's
Have
right.
I got my research right?
You have.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And for pushing conversations that centre people, not just buildings. He's not advocating for greener buildings. He's helping to reshape leadership and what it looks like in the climate space. So, tēnā koe, bro. Welcome.
Oh, kia ora. What a welcome. Right, that's great. That's done then. We're done.
Got to do it justice, over. There's time to go. But like before, we were having this chat just before this conversation. But you sort of mentioned that the place, right now, the world seems to be in a bit of a dark time, isn't it? The economy, the risk of war, the tariff wars. I mean, what are you seeing right now, Andrew? My first question is where do we find hope? Where do we find optimism in this space? Well, how do we be optimistic in, a bit of a tiring year for us? Yeah. So far.
Yeah, kia ora. I agree. And, it also starts from a base, which is quite tough. We've got far too many Kiwi whānau living in cars or tents or garages. We've got that housing crisis. We've got an economy that could be doing better. We've got the global issue of trade wars, India, Pakistan, all these sorts of challenges, and that can weigh on you.
Yeah.
The thing that lifts us, I think, is people and warmth and those projects that inspire us to do more and thinking about kaitiakitanga. And that's why I think it's a real privilege to work in our sector, because when I see the great work Critical do.
Oh, thanks, bro. Yeah.
Nice mention.
Not paid. I didn't pay him to do this.
But also, I've said a few times before, and I really genuinely believe it, is I think we work in the best sector there is, because we produce places that can be healthier and better for people, their health and well-being, that can lift people on their day if it has better daylight, acoustics, comfort. That means when they go home to their whānau, they're in better spirits, they're less likely to be sick.
Yeah.
We can create homes that have better air quality, which means that we have less kids with respiratory disease.
I love that.
And that's a real scourge in Aotearoa. It's something we should be ashamed of. Yeah. We can do all of that, and we can also contribute to the whenua and Aotearoa through reducing our carbon emissions, which is a really big piece. Yeah. So the little lift is when you get a great client and I hope you get a lift from that, or when we see these amazing projects, or when I see a great fun video from you. That I know that lifts the sector, and that's quite real. And I feel like that I actually believe that the aroha that comes from that is more powerful than those negative things, and can keep us going.
I love what you said there, bro, about like I almost think about like control what we can control, and the results will follow. So I mean, like, honestly, like I've had a really tough year. Like, I think business has been a little bit slow. Business has been slow, and I think just last night, bro, like I haven't been sleeping too well. Like waking up in the middle of the night twice, and my mind sort of tossing over, man, shit, I could have done this better. I should do more of this kind of thing. And so towards the end of last year and the start of this year, I spent a little bit of time with a coach, and he was pulling me back to the fundamentals, right? Like, go to bed early, wake up early in the morning, make sure you look after yourself, get your exercise, go for your walks and stuff, and focus on the metrics that you can control, and the results that you can't control will follow, and have confidence that will follow. And in many ways, what you said about what we can't control is we cannot control what Donald Trump will do in the next week. We cannot control the state of the economy. We cannot control these elements. What we can control is to create healthy environments for people that uplifts their whole order, that uplifts their well-being. And that's cool. I like that, and it's so easy to go overwhelmed. If you watch YouTube, you watch videos, so easy to feel overwhelmed. And what we consume is also really important, isn't it?
There's so much to unpack in there, but I love that you've become really disciplined about that. I have a weakness staying up late, and that's really hard on my health. So I love that you're getting on top of that. It means we can give more. I also think there's something in the brutality of the interactions that Trump and others are setting up, where it's very transactional.
It is.
And actually, we know that with your clients, with your employees, that when you show aroha and a bit of warmth, you get that back, and that's building and reciprocal. So we know in our hearts that there's something a lot better than that, and operating in that environment and giving a little bit more, we get that receipt and build back better. But that sounds like, I agree. We've seen, just to look at one sector, construction pull back, and it's hard on so many people.
I know.
Architecture firms needing to let people go, brutal for so many families, and it's also tough to keep your team, going and feeling positive. So I really like that sense of looking after yourself so you can be strong for others, because it is a tough period, and believing in that central purpose of why you're about and what you want to achieve is
sticking
really
to it. I mean, for you as a CEO at Green Building Council, what do you find yourself having a set of rhythms, habits, or values or behaviours that you return to yourself to ensure that as I guess the navigator of that waka that is Green Building Council, that you can grow and support the team through this phase? Because I mean, this is temporary. Like, I'm optimistic that this is temporary. But what are your, I guess, go-tos?
So there's some real go-tos that I need, and without them I get a bit lost. So I'm going to be honest. So I cycle to work and I cycle home.
Wow.
So I get about half an hour, depending on how lazy I'm feeling. Sometimes it's a bit slower. But I need that. Even in the rain, it just feels really good for me. It's my kind of release, and I look out at the lovely hour, the beautiful ocean that we have in Tamaki Makaurau, and I appreciate the sky and that the wind's not blowing me today. That's the thing. I think that's good for a place. I do think that I've tried to focus on lifting the team with just even small wins each week, and being grateful. So, hey, really appreciated how you dealt with that client. Hey, I really appreciate that piece of work, and here's some positivity that's been happening, because we all know that there's those setbacks. I've tried to, where I can, just let the ladder down a little bit. So I've really appreciated judging. So for instance, the Property Council Award. But after 3 years, I gave that to one of my colleagues, because I knew she was really passionate about it. And it's really nice to do that. I think But I think there's also an element in which you need to be upfront and honest with the team and create a trajectory to build forward. So I've had to say, look, we've had a significant reduction in the area of residential.
Wow.
Here's all the ways that we're going to fight, and I'm going to help and lead on that because I believe in this and we've got something positive here. But it may mean challenges for us for X and Y. A really big element for me is eating well and trying not to be away from home too often. So if I can get back home, I prefer that because my whānau keep me grounded, give me lots of stick as well. I really like your emphasis on looking after your own health and well-being because through tough times people look to you and you need to be in a good place, right?
Yeah, tēnā koe, bro. That's 100%. Well, like I love to, Andrew. I love to get to know a bit more about who you are. You know, like where do you whakapapa to, bro? Like where is your whānau from? Where did you grow up? Tell me a bit about that, bro.
Yeah. So I grew up on a little farm just outside of New Plymouth in Taranaki.
Oh yes, yeah.
And we were swimming in rivers and riding horses and had just a little farm there. And I'd cycle to school. And I always really appreciate how much swimming in the rivers and going down to the beach. And I really appreciated that time frame. And so years later, I was in London, and there was an opportunity to be the Green Building Council back in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I was talking to a few people, and I said, I really want to contribute back to Aotearoa. So part of the reason and they said, why? Why is that? And I said, I think I want to be on my whenua. I want to be in that land, and I want to be delivering a better Aotearoa. So I did have 13 years in London in a variety of roles. But and I got to know New Zealand really well when I was growing up. But what I thought was less carbon emissions, less surface water runoff, all these sorts of things.
Has that been for you, like, you know, this appreciation of growing up in the whenua, go for a swim in the awa? Did you have a moment where you were like, I think I'm going to give my life to this, you know, like I think I'm going to give my life to this cause, or I think I'm going to give my life to the practice of kaitiakitanga? Like, was there a particular moment in your childhood? Was there particular people that you come across as a young fella that have instilled those lessons in you, bro? Like, where does that come from, I guess, as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I've always been really inspired by leaders in our past, like Ratana and Gandhi and these sorts of people who really had a central belief. And as I read more about our current environmental crisis, I couldn't see a better thing to pursue and put my talents into than wanting to deliver a better outcome in kaitiakitanga for our kids. Because I know that at some point our kids or people who have children or their children, I think they are going to say, what were you doing? What part did you play? And I really want to be able to say that I wasn't going after a bigger car, I wasn't going after fancy house or lovely threads. I should probably get some. But I was wanting to contribute to a healthier place for our people and for less carbon emissions to avert this crisis.
Really feel your wairua, bro, as you were talking about that, And like I think growing up, I think I grew up reading like the works of Martin Luther King Jr. Reading, like, I think in my teenage years I read through the book of Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom, and Mahatma Gandhi's his pioneering the passive resistance kind of movement, and more surprisingly actually found that Mahatma Gandhi took inspiration from parihaka. Like that, because that happened, that predated Mahatma Gandhi's journey.
That's right. That's what I meant to say before. I said Ratana, but parihaka, and they read about parihaka. That's where they got their learnings from. Gandhi, and then Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr. Learned from Gandhi when he took a trip to India.
Oh wow! And Oh, I really appreciate what you said there. What you said there. You know, like the fundamental values. You know, like I think like I started critical for the same reason, right? Like you know, in my 20s, like I didn't know what I was doing, but I realized I burnt out at university. I hit a parked car, so I fell asleep on the wheel. I hit a parked car, and they rushed me into hospital. They discovered that the seatbelt snapped my collarbone, so I've got a collarbone that's fused in a different way. And so I was in hospital. They checked me out, and just as they released me after about 2 hours in hospital, saying you're fine, and I was walking out, I had a big team of nurses and doctors rush me back in. Was like, you're going to surgery straight away because you've ruptured your bowels. The seatbelt had ruptured your bowels, and blood is going into your. And so I was 19, rushed into hospital. Never had surgery before. You know, my parents at the time, I think they all moved to Melbourne, sort of thing. And it was one of those moments where, like, you know, they put me into surgery and took everything out. You know, it was like 6-hour surgery, put everything back in. Luckily, I was all good. Stayed in hospital for about a week or two. And it was, I remember lying in the hospital, and it was one of those moments where I was like, there's a disconnect between what I am doing and my values. And I knew I had to take a year out as a 20-year-old. And so I found myself with a group of mates, and you know, my mates were youth workers and teachers. And for the next 8 years, we had these flats we had these spare rooms in our flats. And we were living in Roskill South, and we still live in Roskill South, but we ask ourselves, like, as people of privilege, who's grown up in privilege, how do we share and care for our life, care for our neighbours, so that we can support them and support their aspirations and their dreams and hardships. And no idea what I was doing, bro, but in my 20s, we had these spare rooms, and we had people come live with us, from women that were trying to come out of prostitution to young men that were trying to come out of gangs, to like refugees and migrants that were struggling or were being abused at home and needed a safe place to stay. And I found myself almost into entrepreneurship through that path, which was, I loved my neighbours. You know, my neighbours became my friends, and this was the purpose. But it just felt so out of place. I felt, you know, like, how can you make a business and that work at the same time? Like, I don't know, did you have moments like that when you found a set of values and you wanted to, like, but it didn't, you felt a little bit alone in what you were trying to do? Did you have those moments?
Well, I'd love to know more about the journey, the next part of your journey. But yeah, I think, you know, from telling people what I was going to do as a job coming back.
How old were you at the time?
Well, I mean, what did I do? I had my degree, then I worked as an official, then I went to the UK, and I was telling people about the job I was going to take coming back to New Zealand, and 90% of people didn't even know what that was, like sustainable buildings and sustainable housing. And what even are you going to be a real estate agent? No, that's not quite right. So are you working for a construction firm? No. So most people still completely misunderstood. And I think also, you know, you think about it. For instance, we have one angle, banks are starting to encourage Green Star or Homestar, right? But it would be 1 or 2% of what they lend. So it's a tiny proportion. And to really get to a viable future, we need that to be 60, 70, 80%. So it's misunderstood there, it's misunderstood by 80% of home builders. But in a way, it's exciting to be on the edge, isn't it?
It is.
It does mean you've got to explain a lot. Like, what are our jobs? You probably have to explain it at every dinner party, or you know. And that's interesting in a way because it gives us a bit more freedom to innovate.
That's right. Well, so you came to New Zealand. You came back to New Zealand after spending did you say 13? 13 years. 13 years in London. Wow. So what year did you come back to New Zealand, and what was the landscape of sustainable buildings like back in that period of time?
2016. So things were a pretty massive challenge, to be honest. We'd almost lost Homestar, our sustainable, healthy housing standard for new build homes. The board was saying I think we should close this.
Wow.
And we just let quite a few of the team go. The organisation was facing a loss and had done for 3 years. The last chief executive had left. So there's a lot of struggle,
Wow.
and there's a lot of uncertainty for the team, for our place in the sector, and we had to get really stuck in, like mentally work out what our valuable proposition was, where we're going to focus, and make it work and win some clients and really hit the pavements. You probably had times like this, and actually not a lot of warmth towards what we're doing in some of our sectors.
Wow.
From that, we've our existing buildings tool has grown from 20 buildings a year. You probably do you know Bobby Shen?
We went to uni together.
Oh, did you? Yeah, he's doing really well. So we've gone from 25 buildings a year, existing buildings a year, to 250.
Wow.
So that's great. Now it's really incorporated into what people are doing.
Wow.
More people understand it. Far more portfolios being assessed.
Why did you think that back in 2016? Because that's when Bobby and I were still at uni. It would have been our second or third year at uni. Like
I'm so old.
I've just turned 36, bro. So and I don't want to rub it in, but because what I'm saying is genuine. I was reflecting on my mortality.
You were.
I discovered that at the age of 36 that I've become lactose intolerant. But I digress. So it was the 2016. Why did you think that the sector, because I do know this, like it was, sustainability the last 10 years was brutal, right? Like it wasn't very well understood. And it was a bit of it's pretty token. Why do you think it was back when you jumped into the reins of New Zealand Green Building Council? Like why do you think Aotearoa was like that? Well, that was the attitude about sustainability at the time.
Well, I think we don't have as much presence of large-scale investors and having that really strong interest. So if you're in Europe, you've got the EU, which is saying this is going to happen.
Policy
if you're going to be part of the EU, and that's where you get all that trade and input, then we're going after net zero. So 27 countries all pursuing it at pace, less waste to landfill, improving existing homes and buildings, like really great policy initiatives. In Australia, they have investors who are saying, well, you need to do Green Star, you need to hit Neighbours, good scores, because otherwise you won't get the money. And here in New Zealand, we've got a larger proportion of the investor portfolio who aren't exposed to international markets. Now, we've managed to turn some of that round by illustrating the efficiency improvements, the health and well-being benefits, and through just getting involved and understanding them. I think it's still a challenge for us. The other thing that was happening is we had the GFC and there was a bit of uncertainty, so people pulled back. But, we turned some of that round and we really scaled up. Government stepped in to take up Homestar on the homes they were building.
Oh, wow.
So they knew if you get better air quality, you'll have less moisture in the home and less mould build up. You save more money and help with that leadership piece. So that really started to galvanise uptake, as did retirement villages, build to rent, community housing providers started to step into the space and lead on the resi side.
Interesting.
And on buildings, your great piece as well, we saw a move away from just offices to swimming pools, industrial, a widening of the interest. So we went from 20 buildings a year up to 76 a couple of years ago. So that scale started to come through.
Amazing. Yeah, I've always thought about, for you and your role, when Green Building Council, you're creating a product in many ways, right? You're creating a product, you're creating a mission, but it's fairly new, or adoption is fairly low. It's not so dissimilar to a startup when you're bringing out a new value proposition, you're bringing out a new product. It's a bit of a new category, sort of in the market, in the space. If you were to reflect back on the years that you were driving that and trying to grow it and make it more mainstream, what was the one thing that you did that made the biggest difference? What would you say would be the one thing? And I'm curious because I'm I'm trying to do something similar with Critical, with green materials and stuff. But what would you say was the one thing that was the most important thing, or the most consistent thing, the consistent pattern that you had to do, with the lowest common denominator that helped to create a bit of shift in the market for greater adoption of Green Star or greater adoption of green buildings?
Yeah. I would say it was winning the largest clients.
Yeah.
And that sounds kind of obvious, right? Like,
Yeah.
of course you do that. Yeah. But because everyone wants to be that big client.
Interesting.
And so once when you get we have Argosy Stride, Precinct, Kiwi Property, all really get on board. Many of the other providers who they want to be Goodman and Kiwi Property and Precinct, and they want to follow and list their product as Green Star or Neighbours as well. So you get that pull. And the same with in residential, we won Kāinga Order, and then other providers who build homes saw that leadership and wanted to follow on, and it created that pull. And the other more recent driver is sustainable finance, pulling that through.
Sustainable finance,
yeah.
Okay.
I think also the other thing that did help is we listen a lot to the market, and we consult, and they input into the tool. So each time we create a new tool, it takes us about 2 years of korero with the sector, with mahi saying, working groups, like lots of whiteboard sessions. You know, why should we change that credit, and what does it mean? So then we can say, it's actually their tool, like Green Star. We're holding it, but that taonga is the whole sector. And I think that's important. 40 different people sit on advisory groups setting out what Green Star is and how it works. And so that's really essential, to listen to materials providers about how we can provide and reward great products like you have at Critical. What's the best way to do that?
I picked up what you said there. It was so interesting. Really interesting for me is that, when you won over the bigger clients, the role model clients that other developers want to become, it's almost like winning the influencers over, eh?
Yeah.
And
I wish I had said that. You say it so much better.
The influencers. It's like you found the influencers, you found the leaders of the market, the captains of industry, right?
Yeah.
And then you get them to, adopt the tool in the way and go really hard, and then almost like they, by their example, almost do the work for you as well, eh? That's a really important lesson, I find. That's a really interesting lesson. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm sure, like with Critical, you find the same. Like I know you've got clients who are so proud of your product, and then they start to become the influence out, and they have so much mana that helps lead with others.
That's right, eh? And I mean, I think I'll probably say that we're still in the middle of trying to crack who that scale customer is for us, that has a influence at scale. I mean, the Warren and Marnies they're pretty incredible bunch of people there. I'd say that they're pretty up there for us. We're trying to figure out who might be the right retailer for us, the right distributor of products. But the other thing I was listening, as you were saying, is that the way that you convinced and the way that you got adoption is that you talked about, with the example of Kāinga Order, you talked about you've proven that healthier homes means healthy environments and less cost over time. And as a result, would you say that was one of the really big deciding factors for Kāinga Order was ultimately this will save you money in the long run?
That's right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
And so we did win that.
Yeah.
Of course, the risk of this approach is that you can lose that client as well. Yeah. So Kāinga Order has turned away from Homestar certification.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But we did have many years of them taking it up, and that has led to other clients building to that standard. Nice. And that was the narrative. You're right. Less mold build up, less maintenance, less running costs. So a real win for the people in their homes.
Two things, bro. I follow, the Reid Hoffman, the founder at LinkedIn.
Oh yes.
He had a podcast I used to listen to when I was in my sort of like mid-20s called Masters of Scale. And he talks about his approach as an investor into companies. And he says it with humor, he goes, I only invest in companies that can play on one of the 7 deadly sins. Does this company, does that company play into someone's greed? Does that company play into someone's pride? Does that company play into, someone's like lust, right? I mean, that's a really bad example.
Yeah.
And he goes, because human nature is human nature. And the way that I've reflected on this was that when we first launched Critical, we were telling, this is the right thing. Look at how much carbon you can save. Look
Yeah.
at the environmental impact,
Yeah.
sort of a thing, eh?
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah, that's great.
But after talking to, 200 designers, 200 plus designers, plus other client project managers, my favorite feedback has been, the game changer feedback has been, I spoke to a guy, an experienced architect in Woods Bagot over in Australia. And he goes to me on the phone, he goes, Rui, give it to me straight. Is your product gonna make my career or is it gonna break my career?
So simple.
And I was like, I love it. Like, you've just given me exactly what I needed to understand how designers, not all, but ultimately maybe what's not directly communicated, which is at the heart of this is that if I run a design firm, I want to grow and I want better clients. The way for me to do that is I need to create distinction in the market and I need to win awards, right? I need to have a really great review from a client that was so stoked with what I did.
Yeah.
And that is the foremost driver.
Makes me look good.
Makes you look good, yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That was really powerful. For you, right? Really helpful.
It's helpful, hilarious, and I really appreciate the honesty. And to be honest, I don't know. I mean, one of the things I'm struggling with right now is we're trying to convey, because like right now everything is so price driven, and we've been doing some work and trying to convey people that it's more investment up front. But did you know that if you buy a cheaper product, laminate MDF, you're paying for more in the long run, in the lifespan of that product. But I mean, how did you find that you discovered these kind of these keys in unlocking people's mindset? What were they for you for New Zealand Green Building Council?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of them was sustainable finance. That's been powerful. Yeah. So we worked a lot with banks, and now 5 of the large banks all provide lower interest, either mortgage offers or lower interest development finance for people building to Green Star or Homestar.
Wow.
And then the banks have gone on to say you need to evidence your performance in operation. So the story starts to be, you can have a healthier place that's lower running costs, that your tenants really want to be in because it's better air quality, and it's good sustainably, and by the way, you'll get better finance.
Yes.
So that, that's pretty hard to
compelling.
Argue with. So then that starts to really lock in, and other people talk about things they could do, but you want the evidence that it works, right? So you need to certify at the end. And by the way, Goodman, Stride, Precinct, Argosy, those guys, and all the supermarkets are all doing it. So
how about we jump in?
How about we jump in? So that's been really effective at getting more.
Did you, like, in this process of setting up green finance, was this quite a core part of your strategy, or was that quite a core part of Green Building Council strategy, sort of back in the mid 2010s? Did you go into the banks and were like, hey, can you do this for us? How did that happen?
Yeah, it has become more and more core, particularly as we've seen government procurement move away from supporting. So we leaned into government when they were, when about 6-7 years ago, we were leaning into government procurement because they were interested in health, well-being, less waste to landfill, sustainable carbon emissions, and really walking the talk. So then we said, okay, well, you lead in government procurement, $50 billion a year they spend. They're the largest procurer. We won Green Star, we won Homestar, we won Neighbours, all moving ahead. In the last 3 or 4 years, we've realised that banks are setting out, they want to drive change. So what do they need? They need evidence, and we can provide that verification for them.
If they're lower interest rates.
If they're low interest rates.
As an incentive.
Yeah, so the trade-off is they get to set out that more of their lending is to lower carbon, healthier places, and they offer in return lower interest development finance or lower interest mortgages. So we work with them for them to understand our standards. That took like years,
Wow.
and then they've come out with these rewarding products. They still need to do more to market that offer, actually change the market, and they could provide even more incentives.
Wow.
If they really want to hit their value proposition, their values, and drive real change. But it is starting to be more and more material, and more people are leaning into that.
This is so helpful, just hearing you talk about this, because so many parallels, I can draw as as a startup founder trying to get critical to scale as well. But one thing just thinking about I read this awesome book called Falling Upwards by a Franciscan priest called Richard Rohr, and he talks about the two half of journeys. Like in life, we have two parts of our journeys. He calls it the two halves of life. The first half of life is about finding your place in the world, like finding your tūranga waiwai, or if the purpose of why we exist is to move a boulder, we need a lever and a place to stand. And so he talks about the first half of life, in Western culture, is about finding your place to stand. And it's really important, right? Because you cannot move and shift change if it's raining and water is pouring out the roof. It doesn't happen. So he talks about the first half of life is often centered. You're young, you're idealistic. It's often centered around the search and the establishment of three things: our identity in the world, our security, and our sexuality. Those are the three fundamentals in the first half of life, right? So we do that as a Western, in Western society really well. We go into careers, we kill it, we crush it. We get promotions, we start a new business. That business makes millions, and then we grow it again. We grow the empire. And then he talks about the second half of life, and he often goes, the second half of life isn't something we often decide, but is often something that we're called to due to a series of circumstances in our lives, right? And if the first half of and the second half of life is about, if the first half of life is about building a container, the second half of life is about realizing what that container is supposed to hold in the first place. And he often says, the first half of life is that in Western society, people maybe in their 40s and 50s, they go through this midlife crisis, right? Because we're really good at building bigger containers, and we just keep building bigger and better containers without realizing the purpose.
Bigger,
the container's bigger.
But what is
it's empty, Purpose? What is the purpose? And the second half of life is meant to understand, it's a calling towards, for you, as I heard, like you spoke so passionately about this, which is that, I hope my kids will see me. I hope my grandkids will see that my life has been lived in service of theirs, that I am a good ancestor to them, that I have left our world in a better place. And bro, you spoke that with so much passion and genuineness, just want to acknowledge that too. So and I often do feel like, I don't know where I was going with this, but as you were talking about just the struggle, like the struggle for us to get the right thing to happen, us too, is ultimately people just think, how's it going to benefit me, or what is the price going to be? Is it cheaper than stuff that I can buy from China, or can I just, so much of the conversation still falls back onto this as well.
Yes. I can see that. And what's funny, isn't it, is that that step from delivering a more worthwhile place and a better product for you as well isn't actually that far. It's just that next step for that designer to believe in a recycled product, a lower carbon product, and to take that step to incorporate it and to see that value for often what is a minor uplift in price. And so I feel like a great kaitiakitanga stewardship for the future is really possible with innovative thinking like you're doing at Critical and the great products, because it's so close, and it's just bridging that gap to get there, isn't it?
And trying to understand those drivers, and what works. What about you, Andrew? Like, where do you see? What are you excited about? Like, what are you excited by right now? We mentioned at the start of this kōrero that the times are tough right now, but what gets you out of bed right now? looking in the next couple of years? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was at the New Zealand Green Building Council, little name drop,
Yes.
housing summit last week.
Yes.
And something that did get me excited in these dark times is those leading housing projects, people building to high Homestar standards. We had Resido launched to 9 Homestar, and we've got some housing developers who are wanting to do 6 Homestar on large number of developments, which is really exciting. I think we have just as a nation signed up to the Declaration de Charlot, which is a declaration that 70 countries have signed up to focus on lower carbon, healthier buildings and homes. So that's Minister Pink has signed up to that. And so Karaway and strength to his elbow in doing that. We're extending the Neighbours regime to other building types.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting, and we're bringing in Green Star buildings.
You also mentioned the fit outs as well, eh? Green Star.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. That's right. So we're bringing in a tool to make green fit outs far more accessible, and reviewing Green Star interiors to really drive up interest and engagement in lower carbon, healthier fit outs. And I'm massively excited. I think there's a huge opportunity for that. I know lots of people care about health and well-being of people and less waste to landfill. And in fact, I should say that the embodied carbon of fit outs over time can be as great as the embodied carbon impact of a new building. So the way we fit out and the great work you do at Critical is absolutely essential, because we're only, with embodied carbon particularly, we're only getting better at counting it properly now.
Oh wow.
And so it's really essential that we get this right.
What is the is there like an average number of fit outs, you know, for the to match up the total embodied carbon of the building? Is there like a figure of years roughly? Like,
so it can range. It's generally between 5 and 9 years people do a new fit out. Some retail space, they're required to do a fit out every so often. And that's just, the broad majority of that is going to landfill, and we'll be doing so much better. So I mean, the awesome work of Critical and driving change there is just so essential. And I should say, Rui, that one thing I think is really important when we're talking about health and well-being earlier is to have fun.
Yes, 100%.
And I just know that our sector and lots of people beyond it really appreciate all the great mahi you do and giving us fun. So that's something really important you do. It's good for your brand, and it's good for your recognition, and we really appreciated you emceeing our event. But it's also just good for the well-being of lots of people out there to still enjoy themselves and have some warmth. So kia ora for all the really special warmth that you give people from that, and all of the laughs we get to have with you. Or
it's a fine line. I think I often probably laugh at myself more than anything else, eh? But
that's so essential though, to be able to laugh at oneself.
It is, eh? It is, and like, if let's just say I'm a designer, I'm a developer, or maybe I'm a MP, I'm a minister, right? Like, why is it, why should I care about, as a developer, I'm doing a new build, I'm doing a new residential or new commercial build, what benefit to me is it? Why should I care about having sustainable buildings and having it sustainably certified? Like, does that make sense?
It does. Okay.
Why does it matter?
To you, it matters to you.
Yes.
Because it's better air quality, daylight acoustics, so it's better for people, and we know tenants really lean into that, especially the younger people coming through. We know that it's better for your financial return. So whether you're building a building or a home, you can get substantial reductions in the finance you need to build that place. It's better for the people moving in. So in a residential home, you can save $60,000 to $90,000 over the course of your mortgage through going with Homestar. And we also know that people believe in legacy and kaitea-kitanga.
Yeah.
So, there's health, there's well-being, there's financial, but also there's what place do you want to have in this world? And that's to leave a legacy in a better place. You can stand up and say, and when people say, is this a better place? You can say, yep, it's been independently verified by a third party, so that's why I'm delivering all of this. You've got it verified. That stands the test of time.
One of the stats that we lean on, and we're seeing sort of in the marketplace, is that I think they reckon that by 2030, millennials and Gen Z will control and manage over $1 trillion of the global economy. And it's a generation, and even the generation of our kids that come after us, are generations where they put their money on where their values are. And so as you have a younger generation that we're seeing that's of Gen Z becoming, designers that make these decisions, we've observed that there's a tendency to care a lot more, and which is probably also why that you've seen a lot of massive corporates are having these, here's our sustainability strategy, here's our roadmap to zero carbon and zero waste, all because there's a real bottom line impact. If you don't do this as an organization, that you don't certify your products, we will not buy your products. And that's, I find that really encouraging, I guess. Like it's trending commercially in the right direction.
Yeah, it is. And if you look corporately, it's a really long name, but the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, or TCFDs, it's requiring all of our major corporates to make transparent their environmental impacts and talk about what they're doing to change it. And in Australia, they've just created an even more significant regime for that. So 20,000 private companies are having to issue what they're doing on sustainability, what their impacts are, and what action they're taking on it. So you're absolutely right. We're needing to be more open so that people can take those decisions. Young people are going to push us along.
They are, they are. I think, man, I'm just trying to figure out where I suppose, what are you finding Indigenous communities, like as iwi, like Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei, pretty the massive part of Tāmaki Makaurau, both as mana whenua but also as an engine to the economy as well. What have you seen iwi and Indigenous communities been doing in sort of the green building and the green, the green building space? What have you seen?
That's a great statement, because I do think there's a lot that can be learned also. So I'm really proud that we set up a Māori technical working group to feed into Green Star. We have a specific credit that encourages developers to work with iwi and hapu to say what's important to them for the building of the structure, and I still believe there's a lot to be learned from that. We've seen Tainui are now requiring the building of Green Star at Ruakura, the massive inland port that they've built. So all of the industrial buildings and other buildings being built there will be built to Green Star as a minimum. Ka pai, I mean, that's awesome. They are now also rating buildings to Neighbours and the operational performance. Indeed, one the other day just had an exemplary Neighbours score. That's great. Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei have built to Homestar in the past and have a real interest in driving that up. And Ngāi Tahu in the South Island were a leader on Green Star in building a number of their buildings in central Christchurch to Otautahi to high Green Star levels. And in fact, I presented a certificate to them last year for 6 Neighbours rating, which is, get this, 60% better than office buildings being built to the building code brand new. They achieved 6 Neighbours rating on their office buildings, and that all of those are actively engaged and wanting to go even further. They're all members, or soon will be, of the Green Building Council as well. So that's really important, because korero into us about how we can improve the meeting, their driving change out through their organisation as well. And we need that to drive purpose. You know?
Yeah. I've seen sometimes, I've seen videos and photos of you on LinkedIn, like offering those certificates and giving, doing those doing those ceremonies and stuff as they open up buildings, and I see you're stoked. Like you got a big ass grin on your face. I mean, like when you see, as like as like the CEO or as the founder or as someone who leads the organization, and when you're seeing those impacts being adopted by pretty influential companies and pretty awesome projects and stuff, like what are those moments like for you? Like what does it feel like, and what does it do for green building? What does it do for the rest of Aotearoa? Like when you, in your experience of those moments. Yeah.
Well, it's such an important antidote to any of those people saying it's not going to happen, right? It's like this. Here you go. Look at this far. Because it's real. And I've often got the chief executive, or even better, the design team of people that were involved. That I really like it when we've got the architects, the engineers, the designers along with us, because it's really important to reflect on all their mahi that's gone in. So it's a nice, the other thing it does is it shows that there's a verification, and there's that confirmation at the build stage with that check. Because if we're going to do this, we have to do it robustly, right? I mean, there may be people out there attempting to copy what you're doing and not doing it as well, but you want that confirmation. So great example, MetLife Care, 6 Green Star buildings, all at 6 Green Star. Like that's just transformative. That they've stepped up, they've committed hundreds of millions of dollars to these projects, and they'll all be world leading. They've put their money into that, and you know what happens? Other retirement villages go,
oh, let me do it too. Yeah.
And you get, so our vision is we transform that part of the market, and that then leads to this part of the market. And then eventually, don't tell my staff, but eventually we don't need to exist, because you change the building code, and then it's all about circularity. It's all about energy efficiency, low embodied carbon, and that becomes mainstream, and we have better Whenua as a result.
I'd love to ask you this question. If the New Zealand government had a role as the chief of green buildings for New Zealand, and that was what you were doing, what would you do? What would you implement for Aotearoa?
Boom, let's go.
Let's do it.
So I would implement the Building for Climate Change program, which set out that would measure embodied and operational carbon through the building code. The sector was supportive of that 5 years ago. It was first consulted on. I'd set out energy labels on existing buildings, like the Neighbours rating scheme. I would bring in energy performance certificates so that everyone knew, when you're going to buy an existing home, you knew if it's got bad health and energy efficiency ratings, and you know what you're getting your whānau into when you buy that home. So that's transparent, so the banks have that data, so that we can all look to improve. I'd set out a retrofit program. We had 170 companies and organisations support a large-scale retrofit program to improve the health of Kiwis and improve the worst 200,000 homes in New Zealand. Insulation, ventilation, get moisture. You know, Rui, this is really shameful to me as a Kiwi, that we have one of the worst rates of respiratory disease in the West. I go to conferences and people say, they correct me and they go, oh, Andrew, no, your respiratory, you're wrong in saying that you've got rheumatic fever in New Zealand because you're a first world country. And I had to say, no, we've got it because of the state of our homes. And so I'd really go at, and the beautiful thing about improving our worst homes is we wouldn't have an energy crisis. Because the reason we've got an energy crisis is because at 6 to 9 p.m. across the motu, everyone comes home and needs a massive big plug of energy load, and this would mean we'd have less gas in our homes, we'd be more energy efficient, we wouldn't have a peak energy crisis. So all of that work would deliver, it would probably be the biggest health uplift that we've ever had in the country.
Saving on medical bills and stuff as well. Yeah.
Mokopuna, Tamariki.
Yes.
It would more than halve our energy bills, and it would mean we wouldn't have to go exploring for gas and oil as well.
Yeah, tēnā koe, beautiful. It's just so amazing how foundational a healthy home environment is, to all parts of our well-being, all parts of how it affects, our lives, and where it actually saves money ultimately as well. Saving money on, as you say, the energy crisis, saving money on health. If people are less sick, it's not only better for them, but it takes pressure off the costs in our healthcare system as well. Man, why is it not happening? Why is that just not? Yeah, why do you think it's not happening? What are some of the biggest challenges that you're going through right now, Andrew?
Oh, the biggest challenge is that we've seen Kāinga move away from Homestar.
That's right, you mentioned that. Yeah.
That's quite big, so that is an impact for us.
Yeah.
So we're leaning into sustainable finance and helping the private sector understand the opportunities of building a healthier, low carbon way. So that's a challenge. I think that what are the challenges? I like to think about opportunities.
Opportunities, go for it, bro. Yeah. What are the biggest opportunities?
I think the opportunities are to expand some of these schemes to beyond. The big positive about Green Star was when we moved from just office buildings to other building types. So that's been really exciting, and that's what we're looking to do with existing buildings as well. Yeah. And another big opportunity is responsible products framework for product suppliers. But yeah, so there's a lot to go at. A big challenge is government has less interest in emissions reductions. So what we're shifting to is focusing more on how we can help be a solution in the energy crisis.
Awesome, bro. So how can we help? As people as audience who listen to this kōrero today, what can we do? What's one thing that we can do to continue to support the growth and the adoption of these really fundamental values of, these are pretty baseline principles, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Seeing it realized, what can we do? As if we're designers who are listening to this, what can they do to support this kaupapa and to see it really come into life for the rest of Aotearoa? Yeah.
Oh, brilliant, great. Well, you can continue to be a brilliant human and celebrate the great work that you do and give us all that great warmth and aroha and laughs through your great work. I do think it's important to stay uplifted and point the vision to a positive future, because people are drawn to that. People are drawn to warmth and fun and I think to some extent success. And I think as designers we can celebrate and be really supportive of greener, healthier buildings. We can say that that's what we'd like from our employers. If you're moving, you can say we'd like to move into a green building and we'd like a green fit out. Actually, we know that you can massively reduce waste to landfill if you focus on that and drive uptake of green recycled products. So that's something we can really take to heart with all our employers. And we've had that. We've had employers come to us and say our staff have demanded we move into a green building. So we want to look for that out in the marketplace, and that's the power of people, I think. I had such a blast in the Green Property Summit, and it's so memorable, that slide by the head of advisory for JLL, and he had a list. He had a list of Fortune 500 companies that is asking commercial developers
for sustainable outcomes, because they all have sustainability strategies. And he put a list, right, of which one of these guys do you think have a sustainability strategy that you need to support as a head developer X or whatever it is. I think it was what 85%? Yeah, it was insane. Right. Yeah. And he just illustrated that green buildings is going to make your revenue, your tenant revenue, it's going to increase the value of your tenant revenue, and it's going to ensure that you will keep having revenue over the long term too, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so powerful. I love that. I love that, yeah.
Well, you've outdone me again, Rui, because I should have mentioned this earlier. So, turning green to gold, it showed you get 3 to 9% uplift in sales price if you build green, and then followed up with a Neighbours rating, and rent goes up 3 to 7% in buildings that are Green Star rated. So it's turning green to gold, and where we all and actually JLL just issued a new report just a couple of weeks ago, and it showed that demand for green buildings massively outstrips supply.
No way.
So we need to reuse and adapt existing buildings, get green ratings on them, because there's all these clients out there that are driving for it. So that's positive to see.
That is super encouraging. Really enjoyed this corridor with you today, bro. But my last question is, and you've answered this, already to an extent. Well, I've got 2 questions that I can answer. If it's the same answer, I'll ask you the second question too. But let's just say, bro, you are 110. You've lived a life well lived. Like you're at your deathbed, and you're reflecting on those key moments in your life. What made it really worthwhile for you? Or you were reflecting on the impact that you would have had the privilege to be a part of in the world, or the impact that you've made on the world. Like, what would that be for you, Andrew? Like, as you reflect back into a life well lived.
Well, I think, of course, and we do love our Green Star and our Homestar, right? But it's really important people understand that they are just a vehicle for real change. And real change is actually lining up our sector with a livable, healthy future. And that means changing the building code. Because then everyone can experience quality places that we can all get. And I guess similarly, so that's new build. We should not have homes that are overheating. We should not have new build homes that have mold growing up on the walls. And similarly, I do think it's shameful that we have so many existing homes that are damp and cold in winter, and the real privilege would be to help ensure that we get off fossil fuels and we deliver healthier places for our tamariki and our mokopuna, because far too many families are shivering at night with no heating in their bedrooms, and really poor health outcomes as a result. So if we can shift that, then I feel like I've made some small contribution to a country which has given me so much.
Beautiful, bro. Love your whakaaro there, bro. And really enjoy. I think over the years getting to know you a little bit better as well, and see how you're wired and see how you tick. I would say the same for you, bro. I feel like your leadership is infectious, and driving a really important cause. Sometimes, although it feels uphill, I always sense your optimism, in that space. So tēnā koe, bro. And for the mahi that you do, just really, I really enjoy this kōrero today, bro. I really enjoy your authenticity. It's awesome, mate. So
awesome.
Thanks so much for coming out.
We've got to finish with the manawai, don't we?
We have to. We must, Yeah.
We must.
We're going to manawai. You ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, we're going to go on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, and then go. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Awesome, bro.
Awesome.
Shot, brother. So good, bro. Yeah, so good.